Now we in business. Now we talking. This is left side of the brain. Go ahead, do us a favor. Yeah, now we in business. This is left side of the brain. Go ahead and do us a favor. Hit that likes button. Hit the subscribe button. And I'm doing this live stream today because I had promised a live stream Friday, a marathon, which we are going to do this Friday coming up. I want to advertise it and get it out to the people because it'll be a big event. But anyway, how y'all doing today? I'm doing fine. As you see, the winter is passing. The winter is passing. It's starting to get warm, and it's nice out here. Good car weather, to just sit in your car and just, chill and whatnot. I'm not going to rush through this live stream. We're going to take our time. We're going to breeze through this very slowly. The title of today's live stream is, Where Does the Purpose of Life Come From? This subject came to me yesterday. I was coming in from doing some things, and I went into my bathroom, and while in the restroom, I just stared at myself in the mirror for a second. And I just looked at myself, and I said, something dropped inside of me, and it said, purpose comes from confinement. And I just stood there, and my face lit up like a Christmas tree, because I was like, I get it. Purpose comes from confinement. That sounds simple, right? But let me explain. You probably don't understand. You see, after that message came to me, it was followed up by this. What we call purpose is really based upon confinement of being on a earth around other people that you can't escape from. And from that confinement, you say to yourself, I have a purpose. You say it just because you are around other people in a confined space. Notice the word I said, confined space. It's going to all make sense. Just hold your horses. Now, as I continue to think about it, I said to myself, when I had my outer body experience that I shared with you, during that moment, when I was outside of the confined space of Earth, when I look back at the Earth itself, everything seemed pointless back on that Earth. From the vantage point where I was outside of confinement. I was outside of the confinement of gravity. From my viewpoint, hovering up in outer space, everything was crystal clear. I even told you how I felt sorry for God. I said to myself, wow, God, he has to be very lonely just existing out here by himself like this. Because when I was outside of this confined space, it was like, it was nothing in the universe that I could add to make it any better. I saw stars, I saw planets, I saw the sun. It was nothing that I could do to make it better. I couldn't add another inch or foot to infinity to make it better. Because where I was, it was just infinite darkness, infinite stars, infinite everything. That I myself, I couldn't add a single drop of anything to make the situation any better. It was what it was. And in that moment, I said to myself, I said, God, he has to be lonely up here. It was nothing but, it was peaceful, mind you, but it was just darkness of space and it was nothing. I was outside of confinement. So I wasn't shackled to a confined space. See, when you are in a confined space, that's where boredom comes from. When you're in your house all day, you start feeling closeted. You start feeling like claustrophobic. Why? Because you are in a confined space, surrounded by the same things, the same furniture you're looking at, the same pictures on the wall that you're looking at, the same scenery. Being in that confined space, it starts giving you ideas of, what can I do? I need to do something, because staring at these four walls is making me feel like I don't have a purpose and I got to find a purpose other than this boredom that I am going through right now. And that comes from being in that confined environment, being in that confined space for a long duration of time. You start feeling like, I'm worth more than this, so I got to get out of this so I can express myself. And that's where that purpose feeling comes from. It's based in confinement. It comes from being confined to a space. But I'm here to tell you, when I had my experience, I was not feeling like I was in a confined space. It was impossible for me to become bored, but at the same time, it was like, I wasn't bored. I was very peaceful, but at the same time, it was like, what do I do? Not saying what do I do far as purpose, like the feeling of being in confined space, saying, what do I do because I am bored? No, it wasn't that type of question. It was like, I'm at the point where I see clearly that there is no purpose for anything outside of a confined space. Like I mentioned, when I was in that outer space experience, it was not one single thing that I could add to first to make it better. Not one single thing. Not one iota of anything, which means it was pointless, which leads me to say that one of the purposes of life is to find out that it is purposeless. But you will find that in a confined space, that's where purpose comes from. That's where you get feelings of purpose, in a confined space. Because you start saying to yourself, you see, in a confined space, it creates two situations: survival and provision. You feel like you have to survive and provide. Those two things. I got to survive and I have to provide. Now, if you got children, you got to survive to what? Provide. A child needs a parent to survive to what? To provide. So within a confined space, your two basic purposes will be to survive and to provide. And on top of survive and provide, you build another brick on top of that. The brick that you place on top of survival and providing is this question: how do I survive and provide? How do I survive and provide for myself? And that's when all of these ideas about career comes into mind. See, career is just basically surviving and providing in a confined space. So then you say to yourself, how do I survive and provide? So I guess I was born to be a lawyer. I guess I was born to be a fireman, or a nurse, or a doctor, or whatever career or occupation that you choose to be. It's built upon surviving and providing a service as a doctor or a plumber. So your purpose is built upon surviving and providing, and then you have careers and occupations, and then you have spiritual occupations. You start saying things like, well, my purpose is to spread the light to other people. My purpose is to be an evangelist, to wake people up. All of that is based upon confinement. Your purpose is built upon this confined space and being around other people. Because let's create another scenario, because I like to use the what I term as the law of exceedings to explain things. So let me place you in this scenario. I put you out in the wilderness by yourself. You got miles and miles and miles and acres of things around you, but no people. It's just you by yourself. Then what? Are you called to be an evangelist then? No, because there's nobody to evangelize to. Are you called to be a guru then? No, because there's nobody to offer that service to. Are you called to be a doctor or lawyer, an athlete then? No. Why? Because it's nobody to offer that service to. Now, let me replace you in a confined space and surround you with people. Then you start saying that this so-called purpose that you think is organic coming from you is not coming from you. It's coming from the fact that you are placed around other people within a confined space. And then it gets even better. I'm going to tell you what. You see, in a confined space, it's not but so much you can do. When a person runs out of things to do, they get bored. This is why, see, people who believe in this purpose thing, you don't understand that even your purpose is not all fulfilling. So it can't be a purpose. See, a real purpose would fulfill you. And that's why you have a lot of people like in Hollywood, professional athletes. They gain the whole entire world, but guess what? They still feel empty inside. And you say to yourself, how can this person feel empty and they have achieved all of this greatness in life? They fulfilled their purpose and everything. No, they didn't fulfill their purpose. A lot of people confuse purpose with ego. Ego is a flame that's inside of you that keeps you going. It's called the ego. And that ego, it has to be fed. You got to constantly feed it. It's like chucking wood in a fireplace to keep the fire burning. You got to constantly chuck wood in the fireplace. And that's why, you know, when people like get old, sometimes they just give up on life because they feel like they no longer worth anything. They no longer you know, they don't have anything else to motivate their ego. They have no more wood to throw into their furnace. And that's what purpose is like to a lot of people. It's like, it's just your ego, basically. It's like your ego saying, I got to accomplish this. Okay? So when you accomplish that thing that you say you have to accomplish, it's the equivalent of chucking a piece of wood in the fireplace. So once your ego burns up that piece of wood, then what? To keep that fire going, you have to do what? You got to find something else to throw into the fire flame of the ego. And then when your ego burns that up, guess what? You got to find something else to throw into the ego furnace. Till you what? Till you run out of wood. Till you run out of things to do. And then you back at ground zero, feeling unfulfilled again. Just like sex itself. You can have sex with 1,000,000 girls. And the last time you have sex is really the first time you had sex. Because when it comes to an end, it's like you never had sex and it starts all over again. You got to have sex again to fulfill yourself. So that's why the ego, using the law of exceedings again, is akin or accustomed to everything else in nature. Everything dealing in the flesh is an appetite that is digested. And once you digest it, you're still seeking the same thing that you just ate. The ego is the same way. Now that's how you use the law of exceedings to tell and teach everything. Everything I say, I use the law of exceedings. The law of exceedings is basically, it means nothing in the spiritual world exceeds beyond what takes place in the natural realm. So you can use it like a parable. Everything in the natural world is a parable of what takes place in the spiritual realm. That's what we call the law of exceedings. So as you see, that so-called purpose is like everything else. It's just an appetite. Because once you accomplish something, okay, you did that. Okay, great. Congratulations. Pat them on the back, hand clap. Then you're going to be looking for the next thing to do. So that's not purpose. See, purpose would be a one-time deal and you fulfilled. You get what I'm saying? I told y'all to bear with me. I told you. See, purpose would be a one-time thing and it's done with. You fulfilled for all eternity. You got what you desire. You don't need to search for nothing else. You don't need to keep chucking wood to keep that ego flame going. You got it. You good. Goodbye. Have a nice day. Have a nice existence for all eternity. Your purpose has been fulfilled. Then you would just travel for all eternity. Like I said in the other video that I did, that the purpose for everything is eternity. Travel and eternity. That's the ultimate purpose of where everything is pointing to. So you're going to either travel for eternity with a clear, peaceful state of mind, or you will travel for eternity walking around saying, I got to fulfill a purpose. I got to fulfill a purpose. When you're walking around saying to yourself, I have to fulfill a purpose, you will never be peaceful. You will always have something agitating you. You will always be feeling left unfulfilled. Your ego flame, you will always have to find something to keep it burning. And that's why people say, oh, such and such is just feeding their ego. Haven't you heard somebody use that terminology before? This person's just feeding their ego. That's basically what I'm saying. Like, you'll constantly be having to feed your ego. Throwing it purpose paper to keep it burning. Now, let's look into nature itself. You have a tree, right? Now, one may say that a tree, the purpose of a tree is to what? Somebody would say, birds build nests inside of trees, or you can use trees for firewood. And trees, you know, they provide shade, they provide oxygen to the earth. Trees, you know, can be firewood. You can make a lot of things out of trees. Trees provide fruit. You know, trees help give us life, right? Now, I can use the same example for trees that I use for a human being out in the wilderness by himself. If nobody is around, what would be the purpose for the trees? Because see, the purpose of the tree is not fulfilled by the tree itself. The tree serves a purpose when people is around. So what I was saying about purpose is based in confinement, it goes for trees as well. The trees exist to serve a purpose for people. But that's only when people are around. But the tree itself is purposeless without people. Now, I can get deeper with this thing, but I'm going to save some of it for the book, but I'm going to touch on it a little bit because what I'm telling you right now is something that's written in the book as well. What I just told you is the law of dependency. See, this purpose thing is also based in the law of dependency. Like, I can't have a purpose without you existing. And you can't have a purpose without me existing. Because if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, you need me to be a patient for you to be a doctor. You see what I'm saying? So that's the law of dependency. I'm telling y'all, go back to that video that I did. When I dropped this book, I'm building the entire ingredients of everything in this world and why we do it. I got another law that I'm gonna introduce. It's called the law of time, the law of time and placement. I'm gonna do a special video to that one. I might do 2 live streams today. I might do this one. I'm gonna do this one, and I may do the law of time and placement live stream. But I'll let you all tell me, put ones up, after I post this video. If you interested in that one, I'll do it. But that's something I want to introduce anyway. The law of time and placement. See, all of this stuff, it works hand in hand, because this entire human prison ball realm that we live in, it's not in and of itself. It's a codependent reality. It depends upon others to make it exist. Because what do we always say? The human prison ball realm is parasitical in nature. By its very nature, it's parasitical. It's a parasite. So even your purpose is parasitical. It almost sounds the same when you pronounce it. Purpose, parasite. Purpose, parasite. Purpose, parasite. It's almost spelled with the same words. Purpose, parasite. Actually, that's true, because let's see. Purpose, because in the ancient languages, they didn't use the vowels. So let me see. I could have came up on something. Purpose is spelled P-U-R-P-O-S-E. If you take the vowels out of purpose, you left with P, R, and S, which will be all consonants. If you take the vowels out of the word parasite, you will be left with P, R, S, and T. So I was right. Parasite and purpose is almost spelled the same, except you add a T with the word parasite using the consonants. So yeah, so purpose is also a parasitical thing. It's parasitical by nature. You see what I'm saying? And the trees themselves, they fall under the same predicament. Water falls under the same predicament. The elements fall under the same predicament. Because in order to have a fire, it needs codependency. A fire needs oxygen, right? So everything I'm saying is seen in the very nature. Even though fire is one of the elements, fire needs oxygen to be fire. Water is a combination of a hydrogen and 2 oxygens, H2O. So even the elements are codependent. And it's only one thing that exists that's not codependent. And you already know what that is. Darkness. The only thing that's not codependent, that's in existence, is darkness. It needs nothing to validate itself. Light, it needs something to make itself known. Light needs objects to bounce off of so it can reflect itself and show the different colors. Light needs validation. Light, when it enters into the atmosphere, you see, when light hits when light first fractures, it creates the color blue. You see? That's the first color that's seen when light fractures. So that's why the ocean water seems like it's blue, and the sky, when you look at it, it seems like it's blue, because light fractures. And that's where you get the color spectrum from. The red, the orange, the yellow, the green, the blue, the indigo, the violet. It needs something to validate itself. Darkness don't need anything to validate itself. Light needs something to shine upon. Darkness doesn't. You see? Darkness don't need anything to shine upon. But everything else, guess what? It's codependent. So that thing that they call purpose is an illusion. Now, I'll say this, like what I'm doing right now, this is me fulfilling my purpose. My purpose is to come up. My purpose was this conclusion that I have come up with, which is there is no purpose other than this truth that I'm saying right now. Truth, the right understanding to heaven. Truth, the right understanding to heaven. That's what the truth is. That's your purpose. That's what it means to be a Jaguar. That's what it means when I say Afrimanian. When somebody asks me, what's your religion? I tell them I'm an Afrimanian. They say, what's an Afrimanian? Well, I break it down to them. I say an Afrimanian, it means a free man. Afrimanian. I study Afrimanianism. That's what I am. I am a Afrimanian. Best religion known to mankind. It's not about the ego. Has nothing to do with the ego whatsoever. It's not about purpose. It's not about any of that. See, when you say you're searching for a purpose, that means you're missing something. And what you are missing is that thing that you say you're searching. But that search is predicated upon other people. So you telling me your purpose, your so-called purpose, wouldn't exist if other people didn't exist. That's what you're telling me. Because if you say you want to be this, and that, but the things that you're telling me requires people in order for you to be that thing, then you telling me your purpose is based on the existence of someone else. And that's not what it should be. So my purpose is no purpose. I put out the truth. I'm putting out this book because that was my purpose. I feel like if I write this book, when I complete this book, I completed my purpose. I completed what I was supposed to find out. That's what I came in this world to do. To find out what I'm telling you right now. That's exactly why I came here. I don't know if if the uh if the chat is on or not. I wanted it to be on. I don't know if it's on or not. But that's my purpose, you see. To fulfill the truth, to expose the truth, and to write about it. And I don't need another person in order for me to do that. You see what I'm saying? It's not based in you. I discovered that reality when I was outer space. When I look back on the earth, I could have said, that's it. That's the book right there. That was the entire book right there. If nobody existed, guess what? All of this stuff that I speak about, it wouldn't even mean anything, because if none of you existed, guess what? There would be no law of dependency. There would be no the illusion of difference. It wouldn't be none of that stuff we speak about. All of that stuff is codependent upon each other because there is a human prison bar realm. And I said to myself today, everybody is going to exist for eternity. The thing is how are you going to exist? Are you going to exist chasing something, or are you going to exist free from everything? The choice is yours. Put my charger in. Oh, give me a sec. So are you going to exist chasing something, or are you going to exist free from everything? The choice is yours. The choice is yours. I just took it upon myself to do the right thing. So that's what I wanted to, basically tell y'all about. And I'm pretty much done with this particular subject. I mean, I'm gonna upload this video. Y'all tell me what you think. Did you get something out of it? If you didn't get anything, just get this. The ego is a flame that has to be constantly fed with a purpose wood to burn, to keep it burning. So remember that. Hope you got something out of this video. I'm about to upload this. This is Left Side of the Brain, and I'm signing out.